Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, we're here to recap UFC 308 main event, the one that truly lived up to the hype. We're talking Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway, featherweight division. Before getting started, make sure to like, subscribe, click that notification to get all of this that is new from this channel, your channel, the one and only MMA Vision Analysis. Ilia Topuria now has proved himself again, not only in being a tremendous, tough, unbreakable fighter, thus far that is. Those are his characteristics thus far. But this guy is prophesizing what he's going to do prior to the fight. It's almost eerie. Like, if you actually think about it, it's actually almost eerie the way that this guy prophesies his future performances. We talked about Ilia Topuria many times prior to the fight, prior to UFC 308. Both guys, Max and Ilia Topuria, I believe last night takes nothing away from Max. It just showed us two things, really. The difference that age makes, not that Max Holloway is an old man. He's only 32 years old, must I remind you. But Ilia Topuria is 27. There's a difference in age that we have to acknowledge. And you can say that that's the new wave, the new generation. And number two, I believe the special specimen that is Ilia Topuria. It was just on pure display. And mentality before all, right? Technique, boxing technique, absolutely phenomenal. I believe if Ilia... I'm a huge fan of MMA fighters staying in MMA because that's the purest form of fighting. You go into boxing, it's a nightmare scenario for most guys. And I always opposed every single time a boxer goes into MMA fighter goes into boxing. Probably aside from Francis Ngannou in the Anthony Joshua fight. Prior to that fight, I kind of had higher hopes for Francis Ngannou rather. I was disappointed. I do digress a bit, but Ilia Topuria, if he ever decides to go into boxing, this guy I would actually get behind. That's how confident I am in the guy so far. I mean, prior to the fight, he claimed to be the first fighter to have to in the future. Speaking about the future, he claimed to be the first guy that will knock out Max Holloway. Guys, that's precisely what happened. He put away Max. I can't lie. We talked about this fight. We said that if Max wanted to be successful, he has to avoid having his back against the octagon. He has to stay center of the ring, control the jab. We said exactly that, right? And he has to make those quarter turns when Ilia comes towards him. Now, that's exactly what Max was doing, and I believe Max was perhaps highly successful for the majority of the duration of the fight, for as long as it lasted. I would say all the way up until the third round, where Ilia Topuria, just as we said, Ilia is going to look for a couple of punches. He's not going to... it's not going to take him much to put Max Holloway, and that's exactly what happened. First, he caught him with a punch that really started the downfall of Max Holloway. Max started moving backwards. And eventually, when Max had his back against the cage, obviously, he was caught just a bit before that. But that's never a good sign if Max was to have his back against the cage, and that's precisely what happened. Ultimately, Ilia was able to land the devastating knockout punch. Puts Max Holloway out for the first time ever. I mean, it's just crazy that the fact that this guy actually predicted this. And that's why I compared him to 2013, 2014 Conor McGregor and the way that Conor was prophesizing his future. Ilia is a carbon copy of that. I'm going to make future videos speaking of Ilia Topuria and the world of options for Ilia next. Now, I have to say, it's kind of disappointing for that BMF title status. I believe it takes a little bit away from that, and that's why I kind of believe that this title should have been included in this fight, just because I believe now it kind of takes a bit of legitimacy away from that title. I believe that should have been included so we can add legitimacy to that title. It doesn't make sense that with no disrespect to Max Holloway, I love Max Holloway as a person and a fighter. But I believe it takes something away from that BMF title. The fact that Max is still the holder after being knocked out against Ilia Topuria. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments and like, subscribe for more.